Hello, everybody, and welcome to another of DCT Recruitments, the icing on the career cake. And today, joining us to be our icing is John. John, thanks for joining us. What kind of icing are you, John?
Oh, just normal icing. I like cake with lots of icing on it. Strawberry.
Yeah. Strawberry icing. Well, that's actually quite different. I don't think we've had a strawberry icing before, have we, Diane?
No. Normally, most people just say vanilla, or they don't actually know what to say when they get asked, to be honest.
They don't really know what kind of icing they are. We start, as always, by asking John to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to where you are now in business. So a little bit about your history of business, where you've kind of come from, and how you've got to where you are. So, John.
Oh, how long have you got? So, as a young lad growing up in Westerham, schooling in Sevenoaks, do you know what? As a 14-year-old, we used to, talk to your mates, and you were dreaming about what you wanted to be. I wanted to be in the army, or a fighter pilot was the one, until the RAF came and did a presentation at the school and said you needed physics, maths, and computers. And I was like, they're my three worst subjects. So I was like, okay, plan B, not going to be a fighter pilot. But I was playing under 14s Westerham, and the under 15s manager came along and said, look, the 14s is too easy for you, come and play for my team. And I was still scoring lots of goals and playing well, and he was the one that rang Palace or wrote to Palace back in the day. I mean, it's crazy now how the scouting system worked back then. So he wrote to Palace saying, I've got this youngster that you should come and have a look at him. They came down. I went for a trial at Palace and was accepted. So, sort of joined Palace at 16 as an apprentice, one of the last apprentices. I know they're bringing apprenticeships back. I think they're a fantastic thing. Government subsidized, really getting people into business and industry and out there. Because a lot of people, higher education isn't for them. They need to get out, and they just need to get on the tools and get working and get in the workplace and see what they can get out of themselves. They've got that streetwiseness. They've probably got a little bit about them, and that's probably simply what happened to me. Really, I just loved sport. I had a lot of passion, I had a lot of energy, and going into professional sport was absolutely fantastic. Saying that, it wasn't easy. I think going into a dressing room and going into football is so fiercely competitive. It's ruthless. It's cutthroat. You've got these pros who, you're there essentially trying to take their jobs, and you're this cocky youngster coming into the squad, and you get a few knocks and a few punches, and you roll with it, and you move on. So it was a very tough environment, and I'll go through, I think, anyone, and perhaps you guys might tell me better, but I think the secret to success is definitely having a mental strength, a thick skin, and a work ethic, and a belief in yourself. When everyone's trying to knock you down and the world's telling you can't do something, you've got to have that belief and that strength, that work ethic, and dust yourself down and go again. That's life. Nothing's gonna ever be given to you. I tell my kids, no one comes up and says, you're a nice guy, here's a nice football contract, here's 10 years on sort of 100 grand a week. It just doesn't. You've got to be able to deliver something back. So there are very few spaces, I think, now trying to make it in football is perhaps 1% come through, especially with talent coming from all around the world. So at 16, sort of coming in, 17 made my debut, 18. That was a crazy time because you want to play, and you have to go on loan. Like when you're a footballer, I think when you're young and you're trying to break into the team, you got to go and earn your stripes and learn the ropes. So I went to Swansea on loan for 3 months and came back and I was sort of more ready and more prepared to get into that Palace first team. So, sort of talking about sort of 89, 90 was a cup final, Man United going to a replay. 91, we finished third and won the Zenith. I had a couple of really bad knee injuries. My cruciate went twice when it was my time, really. I was in the England squad, flying, looking to go to the Euros in Sweden, and then obviously America, USA 94, and then Euro 96 here was that was kind of my time. And I had a couple of cruciates in that period, which was horrific. to say the least. And that was tough. But as I say, you know, you kind of look at it, you think that life deals you a certain set of cards, and you've just got to work with what you've got. And you know, whatever you do in life, I think the one thing is you can't feel sorry for yourself, because there's always a ton of people that are an awful lot worse situation than you are. And I think you just got to be, and that's the thing, positivity is such a key thing for you to stay positive and take the positives out of every situation, and just do your best, and you know, sort of fought through that. And I ended up moving to Coventry with Ron Atkinson, Gordon Strack and those guys. Nice time down there, you know, people like Dion Dublin and Gary McAllister, Darren Huckabee, great squad. And then I nearly signed for Kevin Keegan at Newcastle, but then I signed for Kevin at Fulham with Mohamed Al Fayed, which was kind of a crazy time with Beardsley and Pierre Beardsley and Paul Bracewell, and that was a time when, you know, Mohamed Al Fayed would bring people like Hugh Grant and Liz Hurley in the dressing rooms, and you know, incredibly, one day he came in and he said, lads, I just want to introduce you to a special friend of mine. It's Michael Jackson. And we're like, okay. And I've never been as gobsmacked and as starstruck. That was the ultimate starstruck moment. I think we were just thought, oh my God, it's Michael Jackson. And he came in, said a few words, and he left with Mohamed Al Fayed, and he was around the place. Didn't see him much, but you know, again, you know, sort of like a good time. Fulham were on the way up. Didn't play that much. Ended up at Charlton with Alan Kirbishley. Won the championship in the Premier League. Then I ended up going to Reading with Alan Pardew, which was a nice time. Won the first division, or we came second to Brighton actually in the first division. Got into the championship. I did fairly well, but I was getting old, and I had one more season at Brentford with Martin Allen, which was a very interesting season. And I think by the time I was 36, really, I was taking I think around 34, 35. I'm taking anti-inflammatories just to train, really. And you know, your body's old, and these youngsters are getting quicker and stronger, and you just know, I didn't want to chase, you know, be somewhere where I'm sort of hanging on, really. So, you know, when I was out injured, funny enough, I think the one big thing that I forgot to say was that it does make you how precarious and how vulnerable you are in your career, because one injury and that's it, it's all over. You know, one car crash, one bad injury, one, you know, fall, and, you know, any, you know, just physically, and, you know, you fall apart. And
John, did they do any like academics with you as part of the apprenticeship?
No, there would have been. I mean, to be honest, back then there was really nothing. I think the amazing thing is, and I look back, and to be fair, Gareth Southgate was just a little bit younger than me, and Richard Shaw and Chris Powell and those guys, and Gareth was very astute, and he was the one guy that I always look at that just used everything in his power. He wasn't he wasn't a massively talented player. He wasn't, you know, he didn't have any real major strengths. He was physically strong, he was fit, but he worked hard, but he embraced the sports science, because around that 92, 93, when Sky Sports came in, there was money came into the game. And so lots of sports scientists, psychologists, nutritionists came in from rugby, came in from everywhere, because all of a sudden there was money to have these guys on board. And, you know, Gareth was, he was the one that was always taking all that information on board and using that. And he maximized that incredibly well. You know, you know, when we'd have these talks and these presentations, Gareth would be the one asking questions, and we'd be like, oh, shut up, Gareth, just get over and done with, and let's go home. You know, sort of be after training, and it's getting late, and Gareth would be like, oh, so what we got to eat, and if I do this, and, you know, and he embraced that. And it you know, just shows you, I think it's that intelligence, it's that open-mindedness, it's that willingness to embrace things that can help you, you know, and give you that extra, you know, yard, and give you those advantages. So you know, that all started, and so, I mean, you know, you go and embrace that, and it's the people that really do that give themselves, and now, you know, sort of any sports people are athletes, you know, the rugby players, the cricket players, the golfers, and you know, the footballers now are machines, really. You know, just so athletic, and you know, have to be physically strong and mentally strong. So, you know, so going into that, finishing the career. But when I was out injured, I was looking at plan B. If it doesn't work out, what happens then? What happens next? And so I did my UEFA. I started doing my coaching badge at 24. I had my coaching badge, and I started working for Sky Sports. Started doing TV. Started setting it up, and you know, Sky were brilliant. They sort of said, look, if it doesn't work out with your knee, I was presenting Goals on Sunday with Anna Walker. I was co-commentating with Marty Tyler. I was working with Andy Gray and Richard Keys week in, week out, you know, commentating. We're doing England games, doing top Premier League games, which is, you know, is massively exciting. And, you know, at that time, it was a brilliant thing for me because I was so despondent and I was so down on the fact that, especially the second time the knee went, that was a really hard time. And to have the TV work and to have, you know, sort of that positivity of doing live TV and working with Andy Gray and Richard Keys and, you know, different people presenting the Goals on Sunday and stuff like that, and working with, you know, working and thinking, okay, if it doesn't work out, I can do the TV. I've got, you know, I'm progressing my coaching badge. So I think, again, that's like that. What I would say resounded with me is that there was always that positivity of, what next? It's not sit in a corner crying about, oh, my career's over. I'm just going to go and, you know, sort of drown my sorrows in a bottle of JD honey or something, and which is very easy to do. And I must admit there was some long lonely periods that you can easily get despondent and lose your way. But then you got to dust yourself down and go again. And certainly when I got to 36. You know, I gave Andy Melvin, head of Sky, a ring, head of Sky Sports, and said, "Look, I'm ready." And he said, "Yeah, great." I said, "I'll get my account." I said, "I'll get my agent to call you." He said, "I don't deal with agents." He went, "I'll send you a contract in the post.
Yeah.
And take it or leave it." So that.
Did you actually have an agent, or were you kind of?
Yeah.
You did, right? Okay.
I did have an agent, and and that's the way Andy worked. So it wasn't a case of And literally, he sent me something through, and it was like, sign here and send it back. And it was a 1-year contract, funny enough. And I can remember thinking, okay. And it was, and again, you sort of went from the dressing room into the TV studio, but it was still just as cutthroat and still just as, you know, just as intense. And you know, everyone wants to be on telly. Everyone wants that job. Everyone wants to be on Sky Sports with Jeff Stelling and, you know, the boys, Charlie Nicholas, Matt Letizia and Phil Thompson. And, you know, when you look at, you know, you can only get 4 people on there. I think they've got 5 people on there now, but everyone's queuing up to be on there. Everyone's crawling over each other.
Oh, you know that, yeah. Even the people making the tea in the background are thinking about it, aren't they? So
yeah, everyone wants to be a presenter. Everyone wants to be a producer. And
what did you enjoy the most, John? Like doing that, getting in front of being Sky or being the footballer? Which part did you enjoy?
Oh, Diane, that's a very easy question to answer. I just loved being a footballer. I loved every second of it. Just such a passion, and I think I just had this incredible desire. And you know, I wanted to play, you know, professional football. I wanted to play for Palace, but the big dream was playing for England. I wanted to play at Wembley for England. I wanted to go to a big tournament with England. So, you know, my dreams were big. I didn't, you know, I wasn't happy just, you know, I wanted to, and that was the weirdest thing. So, you know, when you get into, you know, when I was getting in around that team, I was just so fiercely determined. And when I sort of arrived at that England squad that first time, you got Shearer and Lineker and Pearce and Walker, and you know, you've got all these top players, and we just go, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. This is where and I'm looking at John Barnes and Chris Waddle and all these guys, and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm playing. That shirt's mine. You guys, you're good, but no. And it's kind of that mentality of going into that and really embracing it and being positive and confident about that, you know, being in that arena. And, you know, if you go to Man United or you go to Arsenal or you go to Liverpool, you know, you get excited, and you know, it's just that mental focus of, you know, on the Friday night you're dreaming about scoring and playing well, and you know what you're going to do. There was never any, oh, I'm playing up against him, or I'm playing against Lee Dixon, or Gary Neville, or you know, it was like, I was like, yeah, you got to watch out.
Now listen,
I'm bringing it, so you need to watch out.
We've just had the women's Euros. We're going to have to mention this briefly, but I mean, if ever there was a example of digging deep and resilience, which you mentioned earlier, that was a great example of it, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I think Serena, you know, Lehman's done an incredible job, and I think that's got to be her strengths. I think this man-woman management, it's kind of so important to keep them focused. So, you know, we started very slowly, lost the first game, and then we grew into it. We never really played, you know, the football they'd like to have played, wasn't as open, as confident, but they just kept grinding and just kept believing, and you know, they were very disciplined. Even again, you know, in the Spanish, you know, we just kept building. I think after the semi-final, you think, oh God, yeah, this is incredible. And then, you know, going into the final, you know, against that top Spanish side, the world champions, and you're thinking, wow. But just keep sticking to the programs, to the script. You know, this is what we planned. This is our set. You know, this is our game plan, and believe in it and keep working. And then obviously, look, you know, you have to get characters come through, and you know, we stayed strong, and you know, won it on penalties, which is, I mean, it's great if you do, but it's the worst. It's the worst way to go out, isn't it?
So many lessons for business, though, Diane. In that,
I was just about to say the same thing. I was just about to say, you know, I've been to quite a few events lately where a lot of sports people have spoken, and I'd say there's a direct correlation between people who enjoy sports, are good at sports, whether it's local level or high level. You know, you'd have the same characteristics that you'd apply within your business. You know, like for me, I played netball from the age of 13 till I was about 40 for the same team. Played to county level, nowhere near this Crystal Palace level, John. But I still think you learn the same, you know, like you're saying, when you had your injury, your teammates would have got you through that as well. You know, like them rallying around you, you know, will have got you through the resilience that you develop, you know. And everything's quite transferable in running a business, because it's not smooth, is it? It's a roller coaster. We just make it look easy.
Yeah, I think those are the transferable basics of running a business. So when you're a footballer, I think, because you're an individual in a team, so you're very much, and this is for business people, so it's all right having a dream, but then you've got to know, you've got to have the basics of, right, what do I need to do? I need to look after myself. I need to eat right, psychology, the nutrition, and then you plan out your training. You go, right, you work on your weaknesses, but you work on your strengths. So you're always working, and you're looking at, how can I be better at what I'm doing? So it's that constant progress of having, you know, the short-term, medium-term and long-term goals, and making sure you've got those building blocks in place of, right, I need to get my touch. I need to use left foot, right foot. You know, Stevie Coppell was brilliant at that. But you need to think, what kind of player am I, man? What can make me a better player? What do I need to do to put in place? And you need to be around have the right people around you, listen to the right things. And, you know, that discipline and hard work, and the classic, you know, failure to plan is planning to fail. You know, you need to know where you are, but live in the moment, and you know, build from where you are, but see that growth pattern. So have that plan. If you know, you do need to have that stepping stones in your mind of what you need to put into place. So if you're not looking after, you know, your staff, or you know, just grow as you can, and then obviously you need the amount of people, I think, in business don't have a proper business plan, and have a short-term, medium plan, and then have a cash flow forecast of how they see it working, and then get the right finance in place. And don't run before you can walk, and listen to those guys. But a lot of people are very good at doing what they do, but not great at running their business.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. I worked for McDonald's for 22 years, so you couldn't have been in the biggest process-driven, you know, company that there is. Do you know what I mean, John? Before I did recruitment and coming into the world of business, I was flabbergasted, to be honest, at how little business people knew about business. I was like, our crew members would know more than you. Like it's amazing. it just blows my mind that people have got such successful businesses, but they haven't got a single process in place, or they don't know where they're going, or they don't know what, they're just winging it, you know, each day. Like it is crazy.
I'd say 8 out of 10 businesses that I start working with don't have and have never even looked at a business plan.
Yeah.
Not
It's
at all.
crazy.
It's absolutely mad. Even more than that, a lot of them don't even know what their business does.
Yeah.
that sounds crazy, but they don't actually know what the purpose of their business is.
Yeah.
And I sat with 2 business owners the other day, and I said to them both, what's the purpose of your business? And they argued with each other. He said, whoa, we've got to go back to the beginning here, haven't we? You know, if you can't even map out what your purpose is, what your vision is for your business, you can't even then set objectives for your business. You can't start thinking about how you then reach those objectives, because you haven't got that thing right at the top of the business, which is what is this business here for? What's it going to do in the world? Frightening. I mean, every single one of those players playing for England knew. We'll go back to the Euros a minute ago. Every single one of them knew what their purpose was on that pitch, right, John? Every single one of them would have known what their purpose was, right? And that meant when they got to a point where you're facing a crisis, if you like, you're standing there in front of a penalty box, going to take a penalty. You know, what goes through their head at that point? What went through your head whenever you had to take a penalty, for example?
Yeah, I mean, penalties are so interesting, and taking a normal penalty in a game is nerve-wracking enough. But to take it in a penalty shootout, in a semi-final or the final of a Euros or a World Cup, must just be absolutely a nightmare. But this is where the mental focus and the process. But it's, do you know what? It's people like, you know, all the best players in the world have missed a penalty. Maradona, you know, I've seen him, Zidane, Figo, Zico, you know, and you know, Gareth Southgate. Sure.
So famously, look, Gareth Southgate. Yeah.
I think the one thing you do is you go through the process. So you know, every training session, especially in around the England team, national team, you will finish off with penalties. You'll do a few penalties, and you'll have a little competition. You'll just say, listen, get the process in your mind. You can have that long walk, which is a nightmare, but make your mind up and don't change it. Just decide what you're going to do. Decide what you're going to do. The worst things people do is change their mind. They let their brains get scrambled. And again, we talk about, you know, and that is a real mental strength moment. Now, look, if you take a good penalty and the keeper goes the right way, makes a great save, there's nothing you can do. Hit target. You're trying to hit that side netting. Whatever you're trying to do, you know, is just make your mind up. Keep your eye on the ball. And keep your eye on the ball. The amount of players. I mean, I think it was that. I mean, I look at that first penalty. I think she slips over and double kicks it.
Yeah.
And I've seen John Terry do that, where the turf kind of gives way. But, you know, you're kind of going through the process. And the process, technically, is you need to plant your foot. You need to get your head down. And you need to know what you're doing and then execute. But if that left foot or your standing foot isn't planted right, and you're not concentrating on the process and the technique of the penalty, then that's what happens, and you then mishit it. So it's kind of going through those steps. But look, it's easy to stay, and that's why we love the game. It's in those moments of pressure and incredible, you know, the whole nation is thinking, and you're thinking about them. And you know, there's a big saying that we always used to have when we played, was like, especially the big games like Wembley semi-final, play the game, not the occasion. Don't think about the crowd. Don't think about the TV. Don't think about the people at home. Don't think about the money or what can happen or winning. Just be in the moment and just concentrate on doing your job, which, you know, the girls ultimately did.
Yeah, I think anybody that's played sport at any kind of level knows that moment. You know when you're very conscious of everything else, and you know when you're just completely intrinsically focused on that moment, and you know, and then it all goes right, because you know you haven't let anything else outside of it pressurize you.
Funny enough, the harder you work, the luckier you get, apparently. No. And I talk to so many business owners and business people. Do you know, I speak to so many people who sort of left school at 16, and just got into business. Then they decided to start their own business, but they just worked hard and they knew the roles. But as you're saying, I think a lot of the cute, intelligent business owners get the right people in the right place. They get the right people working for them in accounts. They put the right people in the right places and understand that, because as you said, so many people, I'm not going to pay for someone to do that, but delegate, offload that and make sure that someone's doing that, because you're doing what you're doing and you're growing, and you've got to concentrate on that. But you want someone putting that plan together, making sure when you've got tax back to pay, you've got the finances in place to do it. You're growing at a right pace. It's all the sort of little principles that people pick up, but I think that's where you need the coaching and the business training for say probably 8 out of 10 businesses easy.
Well, that's a great point that I wanted to come on to now, which is to bring us up to date with what you're doing now. But very quickly, as a little inset before we do that, for people that are listening to this, not watching this, you've got a framed, is that a photo or behind you there? Just explain where a painting, where is it? What's the occasion?
So that's Sellers Park. So it's a limited edition. I think there was 100 done.
Wow.
I think that's 7 of 100, I think. And it's just when we played, there was are
you actually on the pitch?
I am, yeah.
You are.
There's
cool.
Mark Bright. There's Mark Bright. You can pick out Ian Wright. See Jeff Thomas and Andy Gray and Nigel Martin. And I think Ron Notes, God rest his soul, our ex-chairman, he gave all the players one of these.
Wow.
Which has always had pride of place in my study. So special to have made my debut there, and special times there. I went on to be first team coach. I did the under 13s, the under 16s in the academy. Then I coached the first team, and then really came out, as you say. Alan Pardew wanted to do something different, brought in Kevin Keane, and so ruthlessly pushed to one side. Gone on to really just get involved with real life to a certain extent. Still trying to get in on the media side, but that all changes, and everything moves on, and you kind of it's kind of, you kind of look at it and say, well, actually, there's so many people crawling over themselves to do it. The influencers, you obviously, the girls' games come on now, everyone's doing it. Talk Sports, Sky Sports, BBC. There's not that many jobs. And the one thing that TV does like, it likes fresh faces. So, sort of people like myself, and, I still see Letizia and Tony Cotti and, a lot of the boys, that used to be in around on Soccer Saturday with Jeff, even, Jeff's now on Talk Sport. It kind of just moves on.
But just get a load of the old guard together and do a podcast. Come on.
Yeah, so I mean, they are. I mean, Gary Lineker's doing a podcast, obviously, with Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. They're obviously the big guys on Sky, and there's lots of things. I mean, Bullard and obviously Crouchy and those kind of guys have done well with the with their podcasts and the bits they do. But yeah, I mean, they're great characters, and they're big personalities, and they've got great stories, and they. They're very engaging, so it's exciting. But for me, I sort of got into a bit of property, a bit of finance, insurance. So I think what a lot of us do as ex-players. So I didn't do any exams, and I didn't really want to qualify as an FCA regulated. So I work with guys who are. So I'm an ambassador stroke business development. So basically, I open doors. I'm an introducer. So. If I go to golf, or I go to sort of charity dinners, charity lunches, I meet people. I'm lucky enough. I think that I get to meet lots of nice people who are senior or business owners or very senior people in big companies. So I can always get a meeting, and I can set up an introduction, so to speak. So, and then we can go in and talk to them about whatever they need, where to a certain extent you kind of do sort of video conferencing, office fit out, and that sort of ties into the finance, and everyone needs insurance. So whether it's IT or IT sports. Cyber is very big at the moment. AI, and the guys I work with all specialise in that. So it's all things that, you know, is massive in the city, is massive and intrinsic to any business, which I find really exciting, to be honest.
Yeah.
I find really exciting and interesting. And certainly, you know, having had the career, having been on television and doing the TV, I think going in and helping companies and working with companies is, and it's, life's a people's business. And I meet lots of really nice guys who love their sport, and who are very, you know, very good at what they do and very successful at what they do. And to be honest, you know, as I say, I always think when you're in a room talking to someone, people will always deal with the people they like and people they want to spend time with. So hopefully that kind of works. So I try and be a nice person, and I work with people who know what they're doing. So hopefully it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's good to hear that some business is still done on the golf course. What's your handicap?
11.4.
Oh, that's not bad.
So, do you know what? A lot. It's, as I say, it's not so much work that's done on a golf course. It's just for 4.5 hours you can get to know
relationships
someone. Yeah, you can get to know someone, and you make that decision. I quite like this guy, or I quite like, you know, this girl. You know, it's kind of like, this is someone that, yeah, do you know what? Give me a call. Will you come over to the office? Let's have lunch. Let's have breakfast. Or, you know, London's all about power breakfast now. So top of the Ned, or, you know, up at the Wolseley. It's power breakfast is good. You can sort of meet up, but it's brilliant. I love going into the city. I love going to, a lot of what I do is, you know, finding out, going and play golf. As I say, I meet people at football or at cricket. I love my cricket. We've got tickets at Twickenham, so we go to the home nation. So, you know, sport's brilliant because it's so corporate. I'm so lucky. I go to Formula One, horse racing, cricket, golf. I'm sport Billy. I just love all of it. But when you're in those enclosures, or you're in those corporate facilities, you're in there with top people. So it's just a case of engaging and talking to people. What do you do? You know, everyone was talking about sport, football. And then at the end of it, I'm like, so what do you do? Can I get your card? Can I come and see you? What do you want to see? Oh, okay, well, you know, I've got things that I may be able to. Can you introduce me to your IT manager? Can you introduce me to your office manager? You know, your FD. Are you looking to do anything this year? Buy any equipment? Are you looking to upgrade or refit or move offices? You know, so, you know, it's kind of those. And to be fair, you know, getting a deal done, it's like scoring a goal.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I was going to say to you, do you think that having been in that headspace in your career where you were amongst the top people, that stood you in good stead? Because I think for a lot of business owners, where they stumble is they can't ever see themselves as being in the same space as those top people. They almost don't feel like they're worthy of being there, and therefore they put themselves down and don't allow themselves to be what they really need to be.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of people do that. You're right. And I think for the top guys, I think they have that resilience and that self-confidence and that self-belief. But you know, I think a lot of successful guys, obviously, that I meet in business, they have successful people around them. And they have a lot of sports people. They either employ sports people, or they have sports people work for them. You know, a lot. That's what I say. A lot of the guys, you know, whether it's Ray Parlour or there's a lot of guys I meet in the city. I find it the rugby players and the cricket players sort of gravitate into business in the city easier because they get degrees. They come through that university system, and they don't have that same mentality. You know, they're more grounded. And they're more focused and they understand. So they're more likely to become lawyers or accountants, or, you know, they might be, you know, brokers in the city, or go and be analysts. And, you know, and that's one thing, you know, I wish the footballers would embrace a little bit more, is that, you know, for 90% of footballers, they're not going to make enough money to live on, and they're not going to have careers that go past 8-10 years. So you've got to have plan B and get some qualifications, or, you know, get a trade that will take you on, beyond your life, because you're for footballers, tragically we're all washed up very early on, and very few of us are going to become managers or coaches after the age of 34, 35. Very few are going to go into TV. So you go into the real world, and it's a lovely place, and it's really about your mindset and how engaged you are with that. So but as you say, I think very much I would say success is built around the mental side of being focused, and understanding and really believing in yourself, in a sense where I think there's so many charity dinners that people want to be around sports people, because they want to hear their stories, and they want to get a little piece of how they think and what it was like in their mental processes. So in a way, when you get a chance, you ask those questions, and you go, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and I'm going to imply that, I'm going to do that, and maybe I'm going to take that further. And that's why reading's so important. That's why sort of speaking to people and maybe having a personal coach is so important, because it's those marginal gains all add up to being successful. I think everyone, and I'm perhaps just as bad, I think I know it all and I don't need that, but we all do. We all help us.
Yeah, everyone wants someone to make it accountable, don't they? I think for me, coming from such a corporate world where you're at that and coming into the world of business on your own, I miss that accountability. Someone saying to you, well, where are you on the plan? What are you doing? What's this? And joining the world of network, and that's where I found that, because I felt like then you had a sense of purpose, you had a bigger team, you had a group of people that could champion you on, and you could be vulnerable and share ideas and get a little bit of advice. It's not just about referring business to each other at times, it's about learning and growing from each other. So, when I found the world network and coming into the business, that was great for me, being able to have them people around you to learn and grow from.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I do the music podcast, because I find there's very similar stories from musicians as you get from sports people, John. It's a tough environment. You've got to make it. If you're going to make it at a young age, you've really got to make it fast. You've got to surround yourself with the right people. You've got to have the right mental attitude. You've got to believe it's going to happen. You've got to believe in your own ability. You've got to get up there. You've got to perform at the highest level. That means you've got to learn and absorb a lot very quickly. And especially these days as well, it means you've got to learn to be everything. You've got to be your manager. You've got to be, your media person. You've got to bring on a lot of skills very, very quickly to survive. And I think those two worlds are very similar. I've always said, forget all of the other business books. If you want to read a great business book that will teach you everything, either read an autobiography by a musician or a sports person. Boom, that's it. You will learn so much about everything you need for business.
Yeah, everything will be in there. And I think there's another saying that you be careful what you wish for, because not everyone is built to play at the highest level, and you've got to know where your limits are a little bit. So I think a lot of people ask and take on too much that they're not really capable of, and are probably not prepared for what comes with success, or which, and I think, Alan Smith used to say that, the hardest thing to deal with is success. So I think in itself, when you do get success, when you do make the money, you buy the cars and you buy the house, but then you get yourself into so much trouble because you don't stop there. It's not, you've let, it's out of the box and you don't know how to contain it. So I think so many people end up letting themselves down. So that's why, the musicians will go through those peaks and troughs, and they will go through the highs and lows that, most mortal, it's just an absolute nightmare. Poor old Gazza's now in, hospital. I hope he's okay. But, the mental side of sport, of music, of being actors. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be actors, top actors, to be that high on the screen and everyone knows who you are, and the money and the fame, and sort of dealing with that it must be so incredible. So I think it's the same with business. I see so many people sort of grow really quickly, and it's all exciting and brilliant, and then it just, it just goes pop, especially in this nightmare environment and economy that we're living in. I do a lot in around construction, And the amount of people you see do really well, and then they take on that big contract, and then, you know, big company goes under and takes so many with them, and you're back to square one. And it's sort of dealing with that. And, you know, in business, you are going to have those ups and downs, but, you know, this is where it's got to be a little bit more, you know, steady, be a bit more.
I was going to say, slow and steady wins the race sometimes.
I was just, you know, I quoted that yesterday to someone. Someone rang me. So we do construction recruitment, and a guy who's a plumber had his business about a year, and he was ringing just to get a bit of advice on quotes and things. And he was like, oh, you know, blah, blah. And I actually said that. I went, slow and steady wins the race. That's what I've done, because I totally agree with that. You can only go to the speed that you've got the capability of. Otherwise, you're gonna dilute the service that you're promising. So you've got to, you know, build as and when you go. You know, I know my clients now are completely different to the clients when we first opened and stuff like that, because you wouldn't have had the big clients when you first opened the doors and so on and so forth. So you've got to grow into your business as well. You know, I think. So yeah, definitely slow and steady wins the race.
Well, I think you can see that in sport. I think you can see that in music. You know, you take people like Robert Smith of The Cure. He's often talked about it. He said, you know, I've never been popular, but I am popular. I don't quite understand why I'm popular, but it's what he's always done over the years, and he's tried to get better and better and better at it, and he's built a fan base, and he knows how to keep a fan base, he knows how to build that fan base, and that fan base will continue to buy and support whatever it is that he does. And that's, you know, that's ultimately where you're trying to get to in business. You need to don't go for customers, go for fans, go for people that will just continue to support you regardless of what it is that you know, sometimes mess up, because you will mess up.
Yep.
And that's, you know, that gives you that kind of steady growth that you know, you can then rely on. You know, it's the people that pop up 1 minute, have the hit single, as you say, John, you know, do one or two projects. And
the music industry's got to be the harshest, isn't it? The amount of one-hit wonders, or the amount of people who are so talented and just don't even get a break. I mean, how long did it take for J.K. Rowling? But in music, you've got to be so talented, then you've got to be in the right place at the right time to. And yeah, it's all harsh, but again, you know, it's all learning curves. But believe in it, but daring to dream, and working hard, and believing in it, believe in the process, and get help. As you say, networking is brilliant, because you talk to people. What's the market like? How are you finding it out there? What have you done? You know, you know, you can work off people, and you can get. You know, those conversations are really important for businesses, especially smaller businesses that are starting out, and then, you know, build those relationships, but get that advice and speak to people.
Yeah, important stuff. John, thank you for coming to talk to us today. One last bit of advice for anybody listening out there.
Well, I mean, my big things are just dare to dream, and you know, believe in yourself, be positive, live in the moment, and just be the best and nicest person you can be.
Being a nice person, that's a really really great one in today's environment, especially some people trying to be unnice on things like social media, etc.
I think the world just appears to be such a cold place, and I've said this for a while. I just find it really disappointing that we don't acknowledge each other. I mean, if I'm walking my dog here, I must live around here. I mean, say good morning to each other.
Yeah.
Hey, hello, acknowledge each other. You know, you go into London. London's terrible. No one looks each other in the eye. Everyone's barging each other. Everyone's just in a race to get wherever they're going. You get on the road, and the white van drivers are driving like lunatics, and you get road rage after. You're like, can we just all be nice to each other?
I know.
We're all trying to achieve the same things. We're all just in this community and in this lifetime together. Let's be nice to each other.
I have to say, John, I think that's why I will never move out of Somerset, because I think, you know, we've still got it here. People around here still do it. People know each other. They stop. Yeah. They have the time of day for each other.
I've just got to get on the train to go into London, so I'm not looking forward to that. It's the one bit I don't like, really. I just annoy people by saying hello. Yes, please. I mean, courtesy, letting people. You know, it's like I'm going to say hello to more people today. That's what I'm going to say.
I love that.
Have you been to Liverpool, John?
Sorry?
You've been to Liverpool?
Oh, I love Liverpool. My daughter went to uni in Liverpool and stayed. I love coming. I'm coming up tomorrow. I'm driving up to see her. So I always love going up there because friendly, lovely, open, kind, and they know their sport. They know their football. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm in Liverpool for 2 seconds. Hey, Johnny Salako. Hey, they know exactly.
I love it. Great accent.
I can't go anywhere in that city. It's brilliant. They remember me, which is wonderful.
Oh, gorgeous. Thank you very much for coming on, John. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it really has.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. If you have, then please do go and share it with other people that you think might want to hear what John had to say today. We will be back soon with more of the same. But until then, from John, Diane, and myself, bye for now.